Hey, my friend, and welcome to Aligned to Rise, the podcast for ambitious women who are ready to rise above their symptoms, release old limitations, and fully rise into their true power and potential. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez, functional nutritionist, performance coach, and former endo and infertility warrior who knows what it's like to feel held back by your body and your beliefs. I've taken a journey of true healing from the inside out so that I can show up feeling great in my body, confident and unstoppable. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Through a blend of functional nutrition and deep mindset work, this show will empower you to reclaim your vitality, trust your intuition, and live unapologetically in your purpose. If you're ready to align your body, mind, and spirit so you can rise to your highest potential, you're in the right place. Let's rise, my friend. This show was created for educational purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for medical advice or treatment. Hey, my friend, and welcome back to the podcast. So, we're going to be talking fertility today, but more specifically, we're going to be talking about how your diet can actually impact fertility, because there's a lot of myths around that. There's a lot of stuff floating around the internet and social media. I've seen a lot of this happen. And so I wanted to share what actually matters when it comes to nutrition, diet for fertility, and changes that you can actually make today that will make an impact. Because when I was going through IVF back in 2020, my very first round of IVF, I had a failed embryo transfer. And at that point in time, I remember having a chat with my fertility doctor, and of course, she had me doing all of the lovely medications and hormone shots, all of the things. But what I wanted to ask her was just, okay, well, how can I help to support my fertility through nutrition? What can I do before we go into this next round to help my fertility improve, basically? And what she told me was kind of just, well, whatever you think might help. And honestly, for me, I think that was kind of my first push towards this functional nutrition world that I find myself in now, because I just knew that there had to be more than that. And it turns out after I went through my second round of IVF and had a miscarriage, that's when I decided to step back and see how I could really support myself. And it turns out there's a lot of information about there. There's a lot of information about how to support yourself through nutrition that can really support fertility. So I just want to give you a little bit of validation before we dive into this episode. Just if you're on a fertility journey and you've been told things like, just relax, or your labs look fine, or come back when you're ready for IVF, I think that this episode is really going to feel like a breath of fresh air for you, because I was definitely told all of those things. And it kind of just left me with more questions than answers, because I still didn't really understand how to support my own body. So yes, diet does matter when it comes to fertility. It can make a difference, but not in the oversimplified way that we often hear. So we're going to dig into exactly what that means today. But basically, your diet can impact inflammation, it can impact your hormones, your gut, your egg quality, and even the ability for an embryo to be able to implant into your uterus. So a lot of factors at play. So what most women are told about fertility, myself included, are kind of that conventional narrative that diet doesn't really impact fertility, that maybe you should just lose a little weight. Just take prenatal vitamins and you'll be good to go. Or if it hasn't happened in a year, meaning if you haven't conceived within 1 year of trying, that you should just go straight into medical treatment. But what all of those those things that we hear, that narrative misses, is that there are root causes at play. There are actual reasons behind why your body might be struggling with fertility, which can include things like inflammation, blood sugar, nutrient deficiencies, gut health, hormone detox pathways. Truly, there's so many things to explore, and that's what we're going to look at today. And this is especially true, my friend, if you've been told that you have unexplained infertility. My favorite. Always love to hear that, right? Because, there's what that really means is just you haven't quite dug deep enough. Because at the end of the day, fertility is not just about your reproductive system. Fertility is a whole body system. All of it. Right? Your whole entire body and all of the systems all impact fertility. So let's unpack that today. Let's take a look at what that really looks like. First of all, let's take a look at how diet influences fertility based on the actual physiology of your body, how things really work. So first thing I'd like to talk about is blood sugar. Blood sugar is something I love to talk about. Definitely work on this with every one of my one-on-one clients. And the reason behind this, whether you're struggling with hormone imbalance or you are actually concerned about fertility, trying to conceive, what I really want you to understand is that when there's an imbalance in your blood sugar, that can lead to hormone imbalance, which can lead to irregular ovulation, inconsistent cycles. And also, when your insulin tends towards being rather high, that can cause changes in your androgen hormones like testosterone, which can contribute to ovulation suppression. So, why would blood sugar be imbalanced? Well, typically things like some of the common blood sugar balancing mistakes that I see are things like skipping breakfast or eating breakfast super late, having coffee first thing in the morning before anything else, or just having those really high sugar coffee drinks or high sugar in general, or just simply not eating enough protein and healthy fats can make a difference, because what really supports healthy blood sugar and in turn healthy ovulation is eating plenty of protein, plenty of fiber, plenty of healthy fats, and just eating regular balanced meals. So having meals that have all of those lovely macronutrients, having meals that are regularly spaced throughout the day so you're not having big blood sugar spikes or crashes. I actually unpack this topic even more if you're interested in really learning more about blood sugar. And how it impacts your hormones in particular. I did a whole episode on this a while back. This was way back, episode 21, which I will link in the show notes. It's called Blood Sugar, the Key to Hormonal Balance. So episode 21, you can hear way more about how blood sugar actually impacts your hormones. Then I'd also like to take a look, when we're talking physiology, about inflammation and endometriosis-driven infertility. Because, and when I say inflammation, it's not necessarily always endometriosis, right? Endometriosis is kind of known to be a more inflammatory condition. So I think that's important to be aware of, but inflammation is something that can come up really for anybody. So if you're somebody who maybe has a lot of pain around your periods, a lot of symptoms around your periods, maybe you just feel a lot of fatigue or achiness in your body in general, things like that can be signs of inflammation in your body. And that inflammation can impact things like your egg quality, implantation. It can impact your luteal phase. It can impact just the general environment in your pelvis. And there's a lot of things that can contribute to inflammation. Even the blood sugar regulation that I just mentioned actually has a huge influence when it comes to inflammation. Also diet, of course. That's why I really love an anti-inflammatory sort of diet, so focusing on things like omega-3s, antioxidants, polyphenols, all of those wonderful additions to our diet that can help to reduce inflammation and just balance things out. And there's also certain foods that can amplify inflammation, right? The opposite way that we don't want. Things like seed oils, ultra-processed foods, high sugar, all of the things that can contribute to inflammation. And sometimes certain foods like gluten, dairy can be impactful for people as well. That's just something to be aware of in general. Again, I did a whole episode on just creating a more anti-inflammatory diet, because that's definitely a foundational piece if you are struggling with inflammation. That was actually one of a somewhat earlier episode that I did, but it was such a popular one that I brought it back again. So that was most recently was published as episode 119, called Step-by-Step Anti-Inflammatory Diet. And I will link that one into the show notes as well, so that you can check that one out too if you want to follow up and learn more about supporting inflammation through your diet. And then, because we're not done yet, my friend, a couple more things that can really impact your fertility is your gut health, hormone recycling, right? So basically, if we break down just how does your body keep hormones in balance, one of the really important things to know is that you want your body to create hormones. You want your body to use those hormones, and then you want your body to be able to break down and detoxify your hormones. So that's where your gut health and even your liver detoxification pathways are going to be really important, because your liver is actually the primary place where that hormone detoxification happens. I'm not going to go into the full logistics of this, but basically there's 2 phases of estrogen detoxification. I talk about estrogen in particular because that tends to be the hormone that gets out of balance the most. And that really happens in the liver. The third phase of that hormone clearance happens in the gut, because your liver ends up releasing those packaged up hormones for elimination into your gut. And that's how you get rid of them. You poop out those hormones at the end of the day. So that's all fine and dandy when it's working great, but it doesn't always work great. And what happens when it doesn't work great is that sometimes if there's gut dysfunction going on, maybe you have some dysbiosis, maybe there is some imbalance in bacteria in your gut, maybe there's some immune dysfunction happening, your estrogen can end up being recirculated into your body, and that can definitely impact how things feel. Now, the reason I bring up all of this when it comes to, because really this episode is focused on diet and fertility, but diet is one of the biggest influencing factors on your microbiome, right? Which is a huge key part of how these hormones are detoxified. There's a direct link between estrogen detoxification and the health of your microbiome. Those two are very intimately connected, and truly this is why I support gut health in every single one of my clients. So what do I mean by that? Basically, if you're eating a diet that's very high in sugar and refined carbs and things like that, and not eating a lot of fiber, vegetables, plant matter, things that actually feed your microbiome in a positive way, it can really impact that microbial balance at the end of the day, right? And even when it comes to that liver detoxification that I mentioned before those excess hormones even get into your gut, we want to support that liver as well, right? Many of us are overburdening our liver with things like eating too much sugar, having alcohol, having those processed fats, the seed oils, having a high pesticide load, toxins in our environment, even medications. All of those things can start to put a burden on the liver. And so what we want to do is help to reduce that burden, right? That's definitely a key part of it. And secondly, we can instead include foods that help to really support that liver detoxification. Things like cruciferous vegetables, eating plenty of protein, B vitamins are definitely super, super crucial when it comes to that hormone detoxification process. Having lots of antioxidants, all of that is super, super key when it comes to supporting that process. So you can start to see where the diet really comes into place. And then I'd like to talk a little bit also, and this is kind of the part more people are probably familiar with if you've looked into any of this at all, is really looking at nutrient density and egg quality, right? Because there are actual research-backed nutrients that affect your egg health, your egg quality. So some of those nutrients that you can definitely get in through your diet are things like CoQ10, which supports your cellular health and your egg quality. And that can come from things like organ meats, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, meat, some vegetables like spinach, broccoli, cauliflower. Omega-3s are definitely a very key nutrient that impacts your egg quality, egg health, because omega-3s help to reduce that inflammation. They're excellent for your hormone health. They help with uterine blood flow as well. And that can be things like, again, those fatty fish, as well as walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, all great sources of omega-3s. We have also the folate-rich foods. Now, I know prenatal vitamins typically come with what's called folic acid, which is the synthetic form of folate. So I would encourage you to, if you are taking a prenatal vitamin, look for one that has folate in it, the real form of the vitamin, not the synthetic form. So that might look like methylfolate on a supplement label. But also, you can get folate in through your diet. So folate's super important because it helps to support DNA synthesis, cellular health. It helps to support implantation and even early embryo growth. And you can get that in your diet through things like dark leafy greens, legumes, nuts and seeds, liver, yes, organ meats, and eggs. Now, I know organ meats is not something that we typically eat in the Western culture. However, I actually really love adding organ meats into my diet. I like to do that by getting an organ meat blend. Like there's a brand called Force of Nature that makes these lovely organ meat blends that I really love, that just has a small amount of organ meats along with your regular ground meat. And I will use those to make things like stir fry or meatballs or meatloaf or anything that you would typically use ground meat for. And truthfully, you don't notice it. And I mean that. All right. So we talked about folate. Choline is next on my list. Another super important key nutrient that helps to improve egg and sperm health, helps to support ovarian function, and that can come from eggs, especially the yolks. So don't skip out on the yolks and just be eating the whites over there. It can come from fish, meat, organ meat. And then we have, I'm kind of putting these two together, iron and B12, because those two are such a wonderful combo with each other. They also help to support ovarian function, egg quality, implantation, healthy cell division, and you can get those nutrients from, again, liver, organ meats, red meat, fish, seafood, eggs, all great sources there. You may notice there's a lot of overlap with some of these foods. There definitely are certain foods that are very key, very helpful when it comes to supporting fertility through nutrition. And then we also have magnesium. Love me some magnesium. Helps to support your hormone health, your ovulation, implantation. It helps to reduce inflammation. It helps to improve egg and sperm quality. And you can get that magnesium from dark leafy greens, dark chocolate, from nuts and seeds, from beef, poultry, and fish. And then we have vitamin D. Love me some vitamin D as well. Also helps to support hormone health, improves egg and sperm quality, and supports healthy implantation. And you can get that. The best way to get in some vitamin D is good old-fashioned sunshine. You can also get some vitamin D from sources like egg yolks and oily fish, especially cod liver oil is a great source of vitamin D. But definitely focus in on getting that sunshine. That's really the best way to get vitamin D into your body. I will say if it is currently, as I'm recording this episode, January. I think it will be February by the time this episode is released. So if you live in a place that is in the thick of winter right now and getting enough sunshine is difficult, definitely supplementing with some vitamin D might be really helpful too in the short term. All right. So those are really kind of the core pieces when it comes to diet and how it can really impact fertility. I know I mentioned a lot of things in there. We were kind of talking about just general diet and gut health and blood sugar, some of the specific nutrients, inflammation, hormone detoxification. So I know it looks like a little bit more of a complex picture, but the thing is that all those pieces really work together, right? Because at the end of the day, diet may not change absolutely everything, right? There's a lot of those pieces that I'm talking about might require a little bit of deeper support as well. But diet is a great foundation, and diet can dramatically improve the environment where your hormones, your ovulation, and implantation occur. So it helps to increase probabilities and helps to reduce obstacles that your body feels like it's running into when it comes to fertility. Because at the end of the day, one of the key important pieces when it comes to fertility, and I really feel like I can't stress this enough, is that your body needs to feel safe. Because at the end of the day, your body's top priority is your survival. And if your body feels overly stressed and overburdened in any way, what it's going to do is prioritize the things that help it to survive, and that does not include reproduction. Reproduction is important for the longevity of humans as a whole, which is great. However, it is not crucial to your survival. So, we have to let our bodies know and send signals to our bodies that it's safe, that everything is okay. And that can relate to some of the things like nervous system support and mindset, just making sure that we mentally and emotionally are feeling safe, but also that our bodies feel safe internally. And so that means getting ourselves in those good nutrients, keeping the blood sugar balanced, helping to reduce that load on the liver, clearing out any toxins that might be in the body, things that are causing that internal stress. So that's really where all of this comes into play, right? So as if I were to break down just some of the key things that I would really encourage if somebody just said, hey, Alyssa, I want to support my diet through, or vice versa, I want to support my fertility through my diet. What are some of the steps that I can start with? Because I know we talked about a lot of things today, but if we were to break this down into just a few actionable steps, which is how I always like to start, here's what I would say. Number one, eat your breakfast and eat a protein-rich breakfast within 60 minutes of waking. That's it. Eat your protein and get that in within an hour of waking up. Second thing I would say is prioritize getting in some good omega-3s every week, right? Salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, sardines, if you can stomach those. Get in some of those sources of omega-3s at least, say, 3 or 4 times a week. So you're getting in some of those good, healthy fats. Third thing I would say is add in plenty of colorful vegetables every day. So aiming for like a good, on a foundational level, even 2 cups to start, but hopefully more than that in the longer term. Get all the colors of the rainbow. Get in your dark leafy greens. Get in your broccoli, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, your bell pepper, your carrots, all of the veggies, right? Not just one veggie that you stick with, but getting in all the colors of the rainbow, changing it up, and eating more veggies than you ever thought possible, because that is going to feed your microbiome in a very positive way. It's going to get you lots of micronutrients. Lots of the good things that you need are going to come from those veggies. And then fourth thing, when it comes to just diet, I would really pay attention to the type of fats and oils that you're using, both when you're cooking and even in packaged foods that you're eating. So really keeping an eye out for seed oils in your food. So that's going to be vegetable oils, canola oil, even things like sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, which generally is labeled as canola, all of that. Any sort of hydrogenated oil, of course, and swapping that out for things like avocado oil, coconut oil, ghee. Those are some of the things that are going to support your body much better and help to reduce some of that inflammation. So those are those first steps that I would take if I were just starting out on shifting my diet to help with fertility. So definitely take those with you, even if you just start by making one of those changes. And you can always circle back to this episode and try more things later on, right? I always encourage people to take it slow, make changes slowly over a longer period of time so that you're able to support your body in the long term, right? Not just for one day. It's got to be sustainable. All right, my friend, if you find that you're on a fertility journey and maybe you're listening to this episode and saying, hey, there's so many pieces to this that I haven't looked into yet. I haven't really looked into supporting my fertility through my diet. Maybe I haven't really looked into supporting my gut health or looking at the toxic burden on my body, all of the things. I would definitely be happy to help you on your journey as well. That's really what I do as a functional practitioner, is I help people to understand what's really going on in their bodies, what they can do to help to support their bodies. And I would love to be a part of your fertility journey as well. So if that's something that you would like to look into, what you can do is hop into the show notes. There's a link there where you can book a free 30-minute consultation with me. We can hop on a phone call or a video call and just get to know each other a little bit. You can share your journey, and we can see if functional nutrition is something that might help you along your journey. All right, my friend, thanks so much for being here today. Much love, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to Aligned to Rise. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment to share it with a friend who needs this message too. And then don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next time, my friend. Let's rise together.